Okay, let's continue with the suspension of the body. We'll go ahead and turn the car back on. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go just a little bit further than beginner stage on the suspension, and I'll also show you a global node for translating your vehicle. That's necessary as well as for any rig. So we'll go into this translation first because that needs to be set up before your global node. Alright, what we're going to do is make the controllers first. I'm going to begin with another circle, NURBS circle. I'm going to drop it out there. I'm going to scale that up, and I'm going to position that above my vehicle here. Make it a little bigger. And what this particular controller will do is be able to rotate the suspension on your vehicle from side to side and from back to front. So I'm going to go ahead and use a circle as an indicator. And I'm also going to be using other visual clues, so I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this particular control that we made earlier, and I'm going to rotate that. Okay, I'm going to rotate that 90 degrees, and also 90 degrees in the Z, and I'm going to scale that down. And I'm going to move it above my vehicle, so let's go ahead to side view, have to frame it in, and move that above my vehicle. And I'm going to position it right above the tires again. Let's eyeball it there. And I'm going to duplicate this and position one over the back tires. Let's go ahead and bring these up a little bit, away from the vehicle. Alright, so now we have our controllers in place. Okay, before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and select my new curves. Here's one too. That one's not named yet. I'll rename that one separately. Go ahead and delete the history, and freeze the transforms. That's fine. Alright, so turn on my gizmo. Each of these should be in the correct location. So let's go ahead and name these. And let's name those control, so that we know what they mean. Okay, and this one is control suspension. Spell it right. Naming conventions are very critical, especially when you're getting into writing expressions. Right. Let's label that front. Okay. Just copy that and paste that for the back. Change the F to a B. And we have our naming convention. Alright, now we're going to begin building our hierarchy for these particular controls. This one will cause the front of the vehicle to go up and down. This one will cause the back end to go up and down. And this one will be a universal control that you can use to control both of those. So this one will be at the top of the hierarchy. And since these cannot be on the same hierarchy, we're going to put the front parented to the main, and then the back parented to the front, and then the geometry of the car parented to the back. So let's go ahead and walk through that. And we'll need to go to Viper Geometry, And we're not controlling the wheels, we're just controlling the geometry of the vehicle itself. So we'll go ahead and select all of that. And we'll go ahead and group that and then group it again. So if you look in here, here's your hierarchy. The top of the group is called Viper Body because we are using that group that the pieces were in. Then group 1 will be named the back. Group 2 will be the front, and then this will be the overall. So let's go ahead and rename our groups. This will be back suspension. Okay, and this one will be, and I'm just double clicking over the name, this one will be front suspension. Okay, and now what we want to do is position those controllers. Let's go ahead and close this up so we can see them. Go ahead and position the controls or position the pivot points where they need to be in order to control that. Okay, so for the front and the back suspension, we want the controls or the pivot point centered between the two back tires and the two front tires. So the group node gives us that additional pivot point, and so that's what we're going to be positioning. And we can do that as we did before by holding our, let's go ahead and do it. We're going to simply, I'll change to wire mode here. Ooh, it's even more confusing. And I should get rid of some of this stuff here. Holding the D key down to reposition our pivot point. Let's get a better angle on this. D and then V to go ahead and position that on that point. And then top view. And we're just going to move that along the x-axis. So D key down and X so I can snap to my grid and center that. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the front suspension as I did with the back. Alright, so now I have the group node pivot point set between the back tires, and I select on the front, and that's centered on the front tires. Okay, so let's turn our visibility back on, and what we're going to do now is go ahead and wire these in. Now, for the front, when I translate this arrow, I want this particular group, the front suspension group, to rotate. Okay, so actually the back to rotate. So I'm going to wire this in so that this translation affects the this group's rotation. Alright, so what I'm going to do is select front suspension, and I'm going to let's see, I'm going to want to rotate on the X. So right here I'm going to click on rotate X, and I'm going to come right up here to edit expressions. Now since we already had this selected, it comes in, and I can go ahead and copy and paste that down into the expression window here. Okay, and so we're going to rotate on the X, and that's going to equal, so space equal, and it's going to be affected by our back controller. So the name of our back controller is, let's see, what did we name it? Control back suspension. So that's CTL underscore B underscore suspension. And naming is absolutely critical. Then dot rotate, or excuse me, translate on the Y. So capital Y. Then we're going to end this expression with a semicolon. Say create. Okay, and close that. Now when you come up here, when you translate your back controller, that is going to depress your, or rotate your group of this geometry down. Now you can see that when I translate that, I'm almost translating twice as fast, or twice as much as the rotational value. So I can improve the quality of that by coming back in here. See X, edit, expression. That's not it. Go ahead and select on my, there it is. It's highlighted in purple. Edit, expression. And I can come down here and say times 2. Okay, edit and close. And when I come back up in here and translate that, you can see now that it rotates. It's much more responsive to the distance of my translation. Alright, so let's go ahead and wire in the front as well. So with the back suspension selected, I'm going to test that by rotating. Okay, around my X. So with this selected, I'm going to come up here and under X, edit, expressions, do the same thing that we did before. Copy and paste that down in there. Space equal space. And then we're going to name the front suspension controller, that's CTL F underscore suspension. If you've misspelled something, then it's not going to work, so I always leave my outliner open so I can make sure that spellings are the same. Dot translate Y, and finish that. I create and close. I'll go ahead and test that translation. Alright, now you see when I go down, the vehicle is actually coming up. So I'm going down in the translation Y, it's giving me a negative factor. So I want it to go the opposite direction. Let's go ahead and undo that and come back to my expression here, and I can put in -2 so that I have double the response, but it's actually going in the opposite direction. So I'm going to put in space times -2. Edit, close that, and now when I come back out here, select and translate, and you can see that it's going in the right direction as expected. Alright, so now let's go ahead and wire in our main controller.